like you're dead. The only problem is you're not dead, you're alive. Step to the left, oh, step to the right. You've been marching to the beat your whole life. Well, it's time for you to step on out of line.
We are live.
We're live. All right.
Hey, we are live. Hey, hello everybody,
Hello.
and welcome to our second episode of NUM, our NUM podcast, which stands for new understanding
and mental breakthroughs.
So very, very powerful. And we had a great first episode.
Wonderful first episode.
Yeah, so
It's
if you
really
guys-
not really a full episode. It's just really a kind of
Introduction.
Yeah.
Just bantering back and
Yeah.
forth as we do all the time anyways.
Breaking the grounds.
Yes. It was really good though. I mean, I got a lot of really good feedback because honestly, our conversations are just very real.
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
It's
I just
down to earth and
yes, exactly.
off the hip. We don't prepare for these podcasts.
No.
These are just meant to be our true thoughts that come to us in the moment.
Literally. And you know what's crazy too? I don't really remember what I'd be talking about during my podcast.
I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, no,
I was like,
seriously.
oh yeah, that was actually pretty good.
But that's good because we're streaming direct from source, right? Because if you don't, I literally lose it. And then by the time we're done, I'm like, oh wow, we're done. And what did we say again?
Yes. What happened? I hope it helped someone.
I know, right? I'm like, what did we talk about last time? I don't even know. But so today, well, let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Elisabeth Hoekstra, and I am Elisabeth Hoekstra.
And I'm Maria Carson, formerly Maria Redmond. And we're going to dive deep today into communication.
Yes. And I think that this is so very important because communication is literally everything in all relationships.
Yes, all really. Nothing in the world can function without communication.
No.
And I think that it is the one tool that we honestly do not do a great job of doing education on.
Yeah.
We say that it's important. We say that we should communicate, but what are the steps? What are the tools? And 98% of us out here in society, we communicate poorly.
Exactly. And communication is just so important when you're speaking to employees, when you're speaking to your kids, when you're speaking to your significant other, even friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Communication is everything.
It is because a person has to be open to receive what you say. So it's like some people just speak and it's for no reason because you're speaking to a brick wall.
Absolutely. That is the problem. So, I think in my life, learning how to set up effective tools that have worked in my household and worked in relationships is something that I want to share today. I think it's really huge in trying to break down that wall.
Yes.
Because nothing ever is solved because of the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're going to get to her way of communicating soon because it's literally groundbreaking. The way that you have, handled your family and the way that you guys communicated, literally, I mean, you just told me that your daughter still uses it to this day. And your daughter and your son-in-law have been together since when?
8th grade.
8th grade.
They're still kicking. They're married, 3 kids now. It's amazing to see their love grow from puppy love to, lusty love.
Puppy love to lusty love.
To, stressful love and into nurturing love and friendship and caring. And it's just been beautiful to really watch.
Yes. But before we get into that specifically, I want to talk about the difference between a man and a woman because literally our physiology is completely different. And I've touched on this a little bit in my other podcast, Biohack Your Best Life. And literally we're different. We're completely different. Our brains are even different. Our corpus callosum is 25% bigger than a man's corpus callosum.
So we process information completely
different
from them. Yeah.
Completely different. And we use both sides of our brain more so than a man does, where he uses his left side mostly. Mm-hmm. So it's very important for us to understand the differences in our physiology between a man and a woman, because if you can learn to understand how a man receives and communicates, then as a woman, you can get through to that person. Same thing as a man for a woman. Right. Whereas, because our hormone exchanges are completely not the same.
Right. So it's going to create a different reaction every time we're having confrontation with someone. The reactions are going to be completely different. And we're operating, when we respond to that conflict, we're operating from two different stems. And so that's why we rarely ever meet in the middle.
Absolutely. Rarely. It's so difficult.
You meet in the middle on something like what we're going to have for dinner eventually.
Right.
And probably someone just caved in.
Yes. I know. And caving in, that builds resentment. If you don't resolve an issue, you will build resentment. Right. And it literally will break up your relationship. Right. So for instance, if a woman wants to relieve some stress, right? To relieve stress for a woman, it helps a woman to talk about her problems.
Yes.
That helps our oxytocin levels, and that helps us calm our stress. A man, if we talk about our problems to a man, that's going to lower his testosterone and it's going to stress him out, because men are problem solvers.
Absolutely. So they go into problem solving mode instead of what we just want is a listening mode.
Yes.
And we're just looking for ears. Yes. And they're already on problem solving.
Solution mode.
Which most times they don't have any solutions to the problems that we're really having, to be quite honest, because we're women, right? Let's just be honest here.
Yes.
There's no solutions.
Yes.
Okay. We think there are. There's no solutions. We're a little cray-cray. So I said it, guys. I said it. I'm here to be real. We're cray-cray.
Yeah. Well, women are very emotional creatures. So even when we're sitting and trying to relieve our stress by talking and venting out our problems, if a man tries to come in and like, well, you should do this and you should do that and you should do this, it's going to make me mad.
Right.
It's going to make a woman mad and frustrated. And then that creates arguments. Right. So just to understand even that little fact between the difference from a man and a woman is key, right? For men. Right. So sometimes you just have to listen.
Yeah. And there doesn't need to be a response.
There doesn't need to just listen. And for a woman, right? It's for us now that we know this fact, right? Maybe instead of venting to a man, we can go to each other.
Yeah, we need to have just depending on what the thing is, what the conversation or the conflict is, you need to be able to pick appropriately who gets to hear that. Yes. You know, if you're looking for saving and solutions, maybe it is your significant other, and if it's not too personal. But if it's things that you can have a discussion with your girlfriend, you know, or guys with your bros, then that's cool. Keep it there, because that's a safer space, and you're gonna probably get a resolution to what you're dealing with versus your opposite sex significant other.
Right, exactly. So like if you get into an argument with your significant other and both of you are steaming, right? A really, really good thing to do at that moment is to walk away from each other, right? Give each other 12 hours, because your nervous systems, at bare minimum, exactly. Your nervous systems will shift out of parasympathetic rest, peace, digest, relax, and it will shoot into fight or flight when everybody's hopped up like, oh man, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. And then you literally lose logic thought at that moment.
Absolutely. The brain is not even functioning in logic.
It's not, because blood rushes to your hindbrain, your reactive mode, right? And this is just our physiology. So you're not going to come to a resolution if both of you are in stress states, are in fight or flight, and you're just at each other's necks. There's no resolution there for anybody,
anyone.
So take a break, walk away. And it's so difficult for a woman, and especially, sorry to interrupt you, but especially a woman that has abandonment issues. Okay.
It's very difficult. And that's where in the beginning, so how, you know, there's an old saying, how you start is how you finish.
Yes.
And in any relationship, you need to foster boundaries and rules. Mm-hmm. These will serve you quite well as you go forward, so that when you guys get to that state, if there was a rule in your dating days in the very beginning of the relationship that said, hey, we're going to have a disagreement. We know this is We're human.
Natural. Yes.
If it gets heated, if we feel like we can't be adults, someone needs to say, I don't think I'm going to handle this like an adult before the arguing even starts.
Right.
Right. Because that's called being responsible and owning your own emotions.
Yes.
And that's what we need to do a better job as well, is owning our own emotions in the heat of the moment.
Right.
And stating that. But if you set that as a rule early on and you guys really work on following that rule as a relationship grows, you'll find that when you can sense when it's going to be heated, and you can say, hey, not right now, let's do this later.
Right.
Before you even get to that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And to be able to come out of that stress state, right, for a woman and a man, it's important to really know that you are not hopped up anymore on adrenaline and cortisol when you go back to your significant other to speak. So sometimes it's nice for a woman to be able to go to her girlfriends and vent out whatever it is. Yep. And sometimes that's not okay, because you don't want your girlfriends to really be so involved in your relationship and be like, I'm gonna screw him.
Right. Then they'll start placing judgment.
Exactly. So you have to be very picky about who you talk to if you decide to do that.
Right. Or journaling is actually a really great option.
It's great.
It's an old school option. People often overlook it, but there's something cathartic about being able to write your thoughts out on paper and then to actually go back and look at it again. And sometimes you read it and you're like, okay, wow, he's tripping. Not tripping. I'm tripping.
Right.
Because now you've come down, you're reading it again, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's me. And so that's another rule you can constitute within yourself to say, if I'm getting emotional about something, before I go have this confrontation, let me write it out. Let me get my thoughts together. Let me see where I'm really at with this particular issue before I go yelling in someone's face. Because sometimes, more times than not, truth be told, we are maybe 60 to 70% of the issue. Yeah. And we're just doing a little bit of projection, which gets us into trouble.
Yeah. Women are very much in their heads. Very much in their heads.
Almost everything. Yeah. Our hair, or everything.
Everything. Whatever, everything. And it's honestly, it's a natural thing, because women use both sides of their brain. So our connections are back and forth all the time. So naturally, we are very emotional.
Right.
And our brains were up in our minds a lot, just because of our physiology and how we're made.
Right. And I think that if more of us as a society were really aware of our, biochemistry, how we're really made up.
Yes.
That's another thing that's undertaught, right? Yes. So we know we're human beings, but we don't really know how we function from a brain level. Yes. Right. Most people don't.
Right.
If you had a better understanding of that, then you'd have a real true understanding of yourself and how to gain more control.
Absolutely.
So that's another lesson we need to take out there in the future for you guys. It's super important.
It really is.
It's really overlooked, and we barely understand how to feed ourselves.
We don't understand ourselves. Like, how are we supposed to understand what's going on?
When they come out, right.
If we can't even understand ourselves and why we feel the way that we feel when we feel it.
And that's a key word. So for me, in trying to figure out when conflict arises in my life and I need to communicate with others about it, the first thing that I do is I stay quiet. When if the problem happens, I don't really react. I stay quiet, stay calm, and then I want to know why. Why did that person do what they did, or why did they say what they said? Because what I need to know now is what their perspective is, because it's not only about me, right? They're the one saying it, so I need to figure out what's going on there.
Right, understanding both sides.
Right,
very important.
Right, and so we don't often do that. We often hear the negative thing or whatever the case is, and then we fly off the handle.
Yes,
right,
and we get defensive, and then everything shuts down.
Right.
Yeah.
How many times have you gotten to something because you thought the person was even just thinking something? You thought they were going to say it, so you reacted, bro. Try to preempt. We do this all the time when we do. So he thinks, you start doing that. And he's looking at you already. He's looking at you like, what's ready to happen here? And he's very confused, legitimately confused. Yeah. And we fly off trying to preempt something only to find out that was totally not the case.
Exactly. Have you ever seen that meme? Have you ever seen that meme when the woman is over there and they're facing like to the side and it has the little bubble above their heads? And it's like the woman's like, I know he's cheating on me with the neighbor. And the guy's over here like, damn, I broke my bike today.
Yeah.
It's like
truth be told, no offense to the gentleman that may be watching today. But men are pretty simplistic, and that's not to be a dig. They just really are, from a primal perspective, just basic.
Yeah, it's from a physiological level.
Yeah, we're the complex ones, and we make up we can make up a whole story out of whole cloth that didn't even happen.
Exactly.
Totally.
Because we'd be up in our heads.
Totally
we'd be up in our heads. I know.
We don't know nothing.
Don't know nothing.
We said I know 3 times, so now it must be.
I know. But we be tripping a lot of the time.
Yes.
We really, really do.
Yes.
But that's okay. That is okay.
Yes.
And it's just, I mean, it's honestly, everyone is human. We're not perfect creatures.
Right.
So we're going to mess up. And it's, for us, it's our responsibility to understand ourselves, right? And if we're in a relationship, understand our partners and know our triggers and know our partner's triggers so that we can prevent these things from happening.
Absolutely.
Right?
And make a more peaceful home.
Exactly.
With your children, with your friendships, all of it across the board,
Exactly. Because as soon as you start arguing back and forth, blah, 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 and then you start screaming, you traumatize who's in the house.
That's
and
right.
Usually it's the kids. And that creates ancestral trauma, generational
trauma. And you've also now just taught them how to poorly communicate.
Exactly.
This is what they see. So they're just going to, whether they want to or not, because you can hate something and still replicate the behavior.
Exactly.
Because it's common to you. It's right. Comforting in an odd way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's really, it's about breaking these conditional habits that we've grown up into. Because honestly, I mean, I used to be at home and hear these arguments, and they used to scare the shit out of me. Like, I used to be freaking terrified of the back and forth that I used to
what's going to happen? Who's going to get beat down next?
Exactly. It used to be really, really terrifying. And you know what? This is the reason why I've stuffed my anger throughout my whole entire life, because I realized I used to watch my dad and my mom go at it. And my dad used to have a terrible, horrible temper. He was a brilliant man. I love him to death. Rest in peace, Dad. But his temper was terrifying. And he used to scare the crap out of me when he would yell, scream, throw things, and he would take his arm and just, all the dishes off the table. It was really, really scary.
Right.
And so I used to stuff my anger because I never wanted to look like that.
Right.
So I numbed out my emotions at a very, very young age and started learning how to stuff, which made me very numb.
I can see that.
Very, very numb.
Similar in our house, but my mom had a very odd way of handling confrontation with my dad. She was very calm all the time.
Yeah, you talk about that a lot.
She was very stoic with it. She was like, okay, Bill, and then he'd keep popping off, and then maybe he got hit with something. She was a domestic violence. She just was like, oh my God, I think that was a bat. Okay, that was a bat. Okay, that happened.
Oh, man.
But it was always very calm. And so for me, I learned from early age to kind of do things a bit more calm until I really felt like, unfortunately, that wasn't effective for me. Because what I learned was my mom wasn't really solving anything. She was just she was good at just trying to block it out. Yeah, internalizing.
She was internalizing it.
Right.
Yes.
And which was not healthy at all. And so then I went on a rampage of, trying to just blurt it all out. And that's totally not effective. I can assure you of that.
Went from one extreme to the other.
I did for a little while. Now I'm right in the middle where I need to be. I choose what I want to respond to in the moment.
Yeah.
And if I'm responding in the moment, I'm going to respond with sound logic because I want my point to be able to get across.
Yeah. Well, you've learned how to correctly communicate. And I give you props for that, because it's very difficult when you're triggered to do the right thing.
It is.
It's so hard because not only have you lost 30% of your logic mind, so you're only functioning literally out of 70% of logic, right? And your body's going crazy. You want to just, you want to pop
adrenaline's
off, right?
Going, everything's
it's
going.
Like everything in you to really stay conscious in that moment.
Yes.
It's so difficult. It's difficult for anybody.
For anybody. And so, I want to encourage everyone that's here today to really start, before you start thinking about overall communication with others, how about the way you communicate with yourself?
Yes.
Right? Learning to understand what your body signals your body's giving off before you move your lips.
Yes.
And our hands, because we do
I do the snatch grab. I do this. I don't know about this one, but I do.
I do all of it.
I do the head.
I've had to do it in quite a while, so it's been great. But yeah, getting in tune with yourself, like really understanding who you are, how you function, what feels good to you. You definitely need to do that. That'll help you along the way too.
Absolutely, it will. And if you are strong enough, which we all can learn how to do this, right? It's all just training your body, your mind, your energy to do this, right? So once you do this, a really, really good thing for a man and a woman is to take that space, calm down, and understand a woman needs to vent out her problems to be able to relieve her stress. Right. And a man, he can listen, right, when he's not triggered and he's not upset.
Right.
So you could go back to your significant other and say, hey, babe, I really need to vent this out. I just want to let you know how I'm feeling.
Right.
To express how I feel, because it's going to really, really help me.
Right.
And then as a woman not triggered, you can go to your partner, express how you feel in a very proper, relaxed, calm way, right? So the man can hear you, and then split back up again.
Right.
Let the man digest that. Now a woman, as we're feeling better because we were able to vent all that out without any solutions, without any
back talk, none of it.
Exactly.
Right. No judgment.
No judgment, nothing. Now a woman's stress is lowering.
Right.
A man can take that, really think about it, think about what she said, and then at some point in the next probably day or so, come back together and have a man conversation where solutions are presented.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But on the flip side too, for the guys, men, I'm finding, just with my brothers and I've always had guy friends, typically when they're coming, to me to talk, they are looking for someone to build them up. So women, we have to be cautious and aware of that. When they have a conflict with us, first thing that we need to do is first stay quiet. But when you guys come back together to have that conversation, build up your man.
Yes.
Or your guy friend, whomever that male is, your young son, build them up. Don't just start throwing darts, right? They don't operate well in that space. And honestly, who would operate well in that
Nobody,
space?
But especially a man. A man will feel attacked.
Right. Their ego gets attacked. And then they shut down. And this is why a lot of men are not emotionally connected to us, and we want to wonder why, because the first thing we do is throw darts, and that's not cool.
Right.
And it's disrespectful to another human being.
Right. Exactly.
It's disrespectful.
It gets very, very disrespectful. And then that disrespect turns into resentment because no words are forgotten.
No words are forgotten.
Especially knives.
Right.
You're not gonna forget
the knives. Right.
And that's always it's gonna be there. It's gonna be hard for a person to let that go. If some really mean stuff was said.
Right.
And I was reading this book, which I think that everybody should literally get and read, is what is it? It's by John Gray. I love his books and I love his research. That's why I get a lot of this, because he really breaks down the hormonal difference between a man and a woman and our actions and how different they are.
Right.
But this specific book is about communication between the two. And it's very important for us to realize, and like you said, break the man down, not break him down, but like, don't come attacking somebody.
Don't berate him. Right.
Yes. Yes. Right. And so a man can hear you, right? Because they won't hear you at all. Nothing that you say.
One dart. If it's just even the tip of the dart, the conversation for them is completely done. Their ears kind of shut off and then they're done.
Right.
So you're just you're yelling at a wall for like a long time to be quite honest.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? It was so difficult for me my whole entire life to be able to communicate, because I never did it. Right. I stuffed everything.
Right.
Every single relationship that I was in, which is not good. This is the super unhealthy way. And I finally figured out why I did this. But all of my prior relationships, I stuffed everything and I never brought up any problems. We never had any communication. If they did something wrong to me, I'm just like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it, babe. And I stuffed stuff and I didn't feel it because I was so numb. So that's another reason why my body was numb all of these years until I started
internalizing everything. Yeah.
And which would have turned into a physical illness if I didn't dive deep into why I was doing that. Right? And start working myself
out of it, which is a process in itself.
It's a whole
because
process.
You have to like purge.
Listen. Okay.
The poor person receiving the purge.
Listen. Okay, I can't. That happens no more. I cannot stuff things anymore, guys.
No more stuffing.
There's no stuffing over here.
Everything's out.
Just oops, sorry. Wish I could bring that back. It just come out.
We're working on the refining portion now.
It's really, really. But yes, so that's why it's very important, because you have to be able to communicate within your relationships. Because when I was stuffing all of these things, right, I would turn around one day and look at the person that I was with, and we'd be deeply in love. But then the next day I'd look at them like, I hate you.
Right.
I hate everything about you. I can't stand you. And I would leave, and they would be thinking everything's fine. super in love, just everything's good.
Liz, hello?
Like,
Her toothbrush is gone.
Literally. Just
no more
bye.
toothbrush.
Bye. And not care.
Right.
And because I'd be so disgusted. But that was because all that resentment would
it
build
pile
up. Right? And then when it fills up too far, then it would just turn off. My love for that person would click, turn off. Right? So that's why it's very important to always in your relationships, whether it be romantic, friendships, family,
your kids especially.
Yes.
I think that one is often overlooked.
It is. It
100%.
Yes.
I think we discount the necessity to communicate with our children on a grandiose scale, and we set them up for failure, in my opinion.
Right. No, we do. We do. Because we are the models for them. Right. We're supposed to model these things, these healthy ways for them. Teach them because school systems don't teach them anything.
Right.
But it's very important to always communicate openly so you don't build up that resentment. So it doesn't get, your cup of resentment doesn't get too high. And then all of a sudden you can't stand a person.
That's right.
And I refused, when I started doing my healing work, I refused to ever do that, ever stuff and not express.
Yeah.
I refused. And the first conversation that I had, that I expressed my feelings, that was scary. I was literally in my closet back in Michigan. I was in the corner of my closet shaking. I'm not even joking.
I can imagine.
I was terrified, right? And it was with one of my best friends at the time, which is that's another story and stuff. But I mean, I didn't like something that was going on with the business that I was at, right? And so I had to express how I felt about something that was kind of negative, but it was just really getting it out to, so that they could understand why I was mad. But I was literally on the phone in the corner, it just, I couldn't even talk.
Couldn't get it out. Yeah.
And then I started crying. And I'm like, what is going on with me?
I'm just trying to tell you we're mad.
No, but that's years and years and years of being unable to express how I feel.
Right. And there's probably a lot of you that are watching today that unfortunately don't communicate because you are frightened at this point. You've stuffed so much that now you're like, you don't want to offend or hurt anyone's feelings or anything else. So then you just end up sitting in your own stew with all the hurt feelings,
all the hurt. That'll turn into physical illness. You'll end up with an autoimmune disease,
eating disorders, eating and gaining
drug
tons
addicts,
of weight.
Right.
I mean, it just snowballs,
It does. So it's on the other side of the hard, right? That was like terrifying and so scary for me, but it's beautiful. And now I'm so much more comfortable, even though it still gets to me. I still feel that like nervousness. Like, I hope that
I don't think that nervousness ever goes away because you can only control what your feelings are. You can't control someone else's. So you're going to always be nervous because you never know really how the other person is going to react.
Yes.
And especially if you've done the work on yourself, but maybe they haven't gotten to the work on themselves.
Oh man. Right.
So then you're like, I'm probably going to get cursed out here.
You know what's really important for relationships? If a woman, so because we express and we're emotional and blah, if a woman doesn't feel safe coming to you with issues or problems or things that have happened and there's no safe space, the relationship will never work.
It will never work.
Never.
We need safety. We need to feel like we're safe at all times.
Always.
That's number one.
Number one.
Once we don't feel safe, the relationship may be going on, but part of us is checked out because we know that we're not safe.
Right. Yeah. And then that creates resentment because we're not able to express how we feel
with the person you love the most.
Exactly.
Or care about the most.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
So in heated discussions with your significant other, as a man, just understand and know that don't dismiss her feelings. Because no one's feelings are wrong. Your emotions are not wrong. No matter how you feel, you cannot tell another person you're not supposed to feel like that.
Exactly. You need to get deeper into why they feel the way that they feel, but you can't tell someone that their feelings are wrong. Everyone is entitled to their own feelings, and we should never discount someone else's feelings.
Right. So for men out there, don't be dismissive of the way that your woman feels.
And women too, don't be dismissive of your man. Men often have emotions that they tuck away because they've been raised now to also feel, which we want to get into that too because that's on us, to feel like they can't have that emotional side, that they can't show that emotional side. And moms, unfortunately, we're raising our boys that way, so they grow up to be men with this set of an issue, for lack of better words. So, we need to be very, very understanding that they also have emotions.
Yes.
And the way that they're going to communicate them out are going to be different. And we need to take and have patience and grace and give them the space to,
yes,
kind of push them out slowly. They're not going to blurt it out like how we do. We come with the whole bag and dump it.
Right.
They're going to come with like a snack box and put one little thing on the table and be like, okay, I'll let you chew on that for a while because this is what's going on right now.
Right.
Really, it's a whole bunch of things, but they want to see how this little piece, this nugget gets handled before they put another nugget out.
Right.
They drop in nuggets.
Yes.
Guys out there, I see you. I know, I see you.
I
grew up in a house full of boys. I know, I've seen it.
No, it's important. It's important for both parties to never be dismissive of how the other person feels.
Right.
Because you're not wrong for how you feel, whether it be man, woman, whether who is wrong in the situation. Your emotions about a certain thing is never wrong. It just is. Right. It's not like you can be like, stop being angry and sad.
Right.
You can't do that.
It just is. Right.
It just is. It just is what it is. So what I like to do when there's a heated discussion or something that's troubling me is I like to really take down the shield first, right? So I'll be like, I'll compliment and be like, hey, I really love the way that you do this. And I've been literally watching you do this and it's amazing. And I think that you're phenomenal. But I'm having some issues with this, right? So that completely takes the shield down.
Right.
And no defensiveness. And now you open the other person up to hear what you have to say. Right. And it's truth, right? Because there are so many things in arguments. Understand what the big picture is and why are you even together, right? Do you love each other and do you want to be together or not? Right. And if you want to love each other and want to be together,
then you got to work on these get all these little things that arise out of the way.
Exactly. Exactly.
Once resentment creeps in, then you're done.
Yes.
For women anyway, we're done. We start, secretly plotting. Or because everything you do now is a problem. We're going to just find, problem in everything.
Yes. So, yes. And also, if you're in a relationship with somebody, focus on the things that they do well, right? Focus on the things that you love about that person instead of always nitpicking and looking, oh, well, this and then this and then this.
Right.
I mean, if there's issues that are really troubling you, understand that and express those issues, but focus on your partner's great qualities.
Right. And I think that, again, that falls almost back to really understanding and knowing who you are as a person, right? So you have to, when you present in a relationship with someone, you need to be upfront and honest about, what are your deal breakers? What things really bother you? Don't give the representative answers. I think that's our problem. We come to these dates and in relationships with a representative, and then 6 months in, you're somebody completely different,
right? Yeah.
No, put it out on the table. If I'm meeting someone, the first things that I, might seem maybe too deep for them, but I bring up any type of past trauma that I had. I want them to know off the gate, this is a trauma point for me. I don't, I want you to know day one, we might not even go anywhere. And I'm okay with sharing that something's a trauma point for me, but I want them to know that if the relationship does grow, that they're not blindsided 7 months down the road by a trauma that really puts a kink in our relationship, Right. So understanding yourself and knowing what you like, what you don't like ahead of time is really key. And put that on the table. Communicate that in the beginning.
Yes. Right.
Number one, you got to communicate it.
Absolutely.
Everything's going to fall back to communication.
It always. Everything.
Yes.
Everything. Yeah. Because if your partner, so if you have a core wound, right? Everybody does. Yep. Everybody has a core wound. And usually it happens between the ages of 0 and 7 when you're being programmed. And that core wound in you, if someone scratches on that core wounds, right? Or something that reminds you of that core wounds,
that's right.
You completely lose consciousness, right? Completely. And it's hard to come back from that. So to express to your partner, significant other, hey, I have, for me, I have terrible abandonment issues. Right. I was adopted. I didn't never see my mom. I never got hugged when I was a kid, like a little baby. And so my abandonment issues are deep rooted within me. So when someone walks away from me or when I feel like I'm being abandoned, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to die. Literally. Right. My whole body's like, I'm going to freaking die. I'm being murdered. Believing me. Seriously. When I know consciously, okay, that's not the case, but still.
It's an internal wound.
Yes.
And if you communicate that in the beginning, the person has a better opportunity. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but they have a better opportunity to choose their words and actions wisely.
Yes.
when conflict arises,
exactly,
unless they just want to be an idiot,
right,
scratching the wound,
right?
But,
and that's just mean.
But then that's not love either.
No,
that's
not.
Then that's not the person for you.
Not.
If someone's constantly, if you've communicated that you've got trauma points and that person's constantly digging at them, you probably need to get rid of that person.
Yeah, that's toxic.
Because
it becomes very toxic.
They're wanting to put harm on you for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. That's their business. Your choice is to get out of there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 1000%. If they keep scratching at that core wound, then it's just toxic. It's a toxic relationship, and you need to run the other way because they just want to hurt you.
Right. They want you to be in pain.
Yes. Yeah. And people don't stay in stuff like that. And women and men, be strong enough to leave that, right? Instead of codependent, which I was in a codependent relationship. I was in a codependent narcissistic relationship for a very long time. And that, honestly, emotional abuse is way worse than physical abuse. Oh my God.
Speaking from experience over here. It is true. That is the worst.
It is. And neither are okay.
Yeah, neither are
okay.
But emotional because, physical, anyone that's been through any type of trauma like that, the pain does subside and you can, heal and move forward. Yeah. But when someone emotionally abuses you,
it screws your head up.
All the words and everything that they say, I went through a lot of this with my ex-husband. A lot of the things that he said were just so, awful and detrimental. Yeah. And it's taken me like a good minute to just really kind of understand I'm not those things that he said.
Right.
I'm not those things that he thinks. And that's his own projection. But it sticks with you.
It does.
And it's tough.
It's super tough. It's super tough. And literally my self-esteem was shot, completely shot. And I went into this relationship and I was just top of the world. And I knew that I was the bomb, right?
Right.
Coming out of that relationship, I thought I was trash. Literally trash. I'm like, I'm ugly. I'm horrible. I'm terrible. Right. I suck at everything. I'm a horrible. All of these things were repetitive. Were in my mind. And I had to literally take so much time to reprogram my thought patterns. Because if someone is at you all the time, you suck, you are ugly, you're this, you're that. It gets into your subconscious.
Yeah, it's coming from the person that you love.
Yes.
That you're spending
and you're hearing your
life with, and you're hearing them say these things about you. So then you start saying, well, maybe this is true. You almost start second guessing yourself.
Oh, no, you do.
My marriage almost started second guessing myself. And so it became
maybe I am this
really
horrible person. Maybe I am super ugly.
Mean.
Maybe I am dumb.
Not mean.
I'm so mean. I'm a mean, ugly, dumb person. And it's really horrible.
Yeah.
But to realize that and to come out of those things, I mean, it takes a lot of courage, right? If you're in something like that, it takes a lot of courage. I thought that eventually he would change. And
you think the more that you're nice or the more that you say loving things that those things will change, but they never do.
No, they don't change. People don't change for other people. People change only for themselves. They'll never change for you. So you don't ever go into a relationship thinking you can change your partner, because that'll never happen.
Right. Women, don't do it, and don't make babies to try to help foster that.
Do not.
That's a really bad idea.
Horrible idea. Please don't do that. That's crazy manipulative and horrible to that poor child that you're using to
right.
I never could understand.
I don't know. I raised a child that kind of was created in that pathway. Looking at watching my child, she's my child now, but watching her grow up, knowing that situation was just, it's detrimental to the person.
Yeah.
I don't know if she'll ever 100% be whole.
I know. No,
I pray for that, but I don't know.
It's just that core wound is almost impossible to, because it's like, okay, you didn't even want me. You just used me
to try to make things work. And then the mother got resentful, and then she didn't want a parent at all. So the child just totally didn't get any love and nurturing.
Completely toxic.
Completely. So don't do that. Yeah.
That's not the way to go.
Right.
Not the way to go. Don't ever do that. Yeah. Don't ever do that.
And along the vein of talking about kids, I know we briefly touched on it. I really want to encourage everyone out there that has children to sit down with your kids and shut your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I used to take my kids, each of them, for just a date on their own.
Mm-hmm.
The other kids cannot come. They cannot get involved. Even if we didn't leave the house, it was that child's day. You guys got to scurry.
Right.
Just so I can get to know my children as a human being.
Yes.
Not my kid, but as a human being.
Right.
And what they feel and what they think.
Mm-hmm.
I probably know a lot more about my children than any parent would ever want to know about their kids. Sometimes I'm just sitting there like, oh, that's
really
interesting. Should I respond or not?
Yes.
The answer is no. You don't respond. But letting them get anything that they want to say out, you know, even if it's about you, something that they feel like you did to them, you know, because as parents, we love to say that we know it all, but we don't. We don't. We're screwed up trying to help other people grow up. I mean, think about that. So, you know, really listen to them and listen to their feelings and emotions, because that's true. Their feelings and emotions count as well.
Yes.
And giving them, as we were saying, women need a safe space. Children always need a safe space, right?
Yeah.
So this is how they become a better human being for society.
Yeah.
You got to give them that safe space that when they say something, even if it's about you and you don't like it, right? Because you're never going to like it as a parent, but you respect it because you respect them as a person.
Exactly.
Right?
We have the misconception as adults that we own these tiny little babies, right? We don't own anybody. We are here to walk these babies through their life, right? To be their mentor.
Right.
To mentor them through their life so they can become the best vessel, the best spirit, the best whatever they can be in this lifetime. Right. It is not for us to own or push our beliefs onto them, because they are their own individual. Right. And it's not for us to control. Right. It's not for us to say, hey, you have to do this, or because I mean, of course, do your schoolwork and like the basics.
I mean,
but
the basics.
Right? You need to be a doctor.
Yeah, I think we control our children so much to the point where we have a society, honestly, of people that don't almost think for themselves.
No, exactly. You know? And then the resentment.
Right.
The resentment is horrible.
Right. You know, I want to applaud my parents. God both rest in peace, but they allowed us to really ask questions. I remember my poor mother. Oh my gosh. I harassed my poor mother one summer on why the grass was green. And, you know, I looked at it and I said, you know, Mom, the grass is green. And, she, you know, I said, why did they say grass is green? And she said, because it is. And I'm like, well, why? You know, and she, you know, let me go for a while before she was finally like, okay, we're just going to just say it's green. But you know what? If you want it to be purple, it can be purple, and whatever you want it to be. But she allowed me to always ask the questions of why and communicate my thoughts. And they never really kind of pounded into me, you know, that this is the way that things have to be or should be. Right. You know, we had religious exploration in our home. You know, we had a menorah up in our window during the holidays. One point I thought we might have been Jewish. I was a little confused. We were eating a lot of rye bread and pastrami too. I was very confused. Very, very confused. Matzahs, and we still like matzahs, me and my brother and I.
I know. I was seeing matzah crackers. Sometimes I'm like, what are these? What are those?
Gotta get a little Jew fetish in right quick. But they let us explore, and they really didn't pound into us the way that things have to be because it's been done that way.
Right. You know? Exactly.
They let us communicate that out. So that was really cool.
No, it's so important. And my parents, so I was raised in church at a Presbyterian church. But by the time I became of age as an adult to think for myself, it's like they didn't push that on me. My mom never pushed, this is the way it is, and this is how you need to think. Right. I'm the black sheep of the family, and they think I'm buck wild crazy. And I probably am. That's cool. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Too, actually.
Whatever. I'll be weird.
Right?
I'm good. But like I'm good. But yeah, they never pushed their belief system. I mean, they educated me enough to know what this was, and they let me make my own decision. Right. Which was very, very important, because honestly, I was so rebellious that if they were to tell me that I had to be a certain way, which they did in certain things,
the things that are supposed to be.
Listen, I rebelled so bad. So many handcuffs. So many handcuffs.
I was not like that.
Mom,
I was a nerd and good student. I was a quiet kid. Actually.
Oh no, not me. I was
doing things on the low, but my parents just. My mom did.
Okay. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
Right, exactly.
So, anywho,
back to communication. Yeah.
So kids. Yes, and you know what? something that I really, really love about my son and my relationship is the fact that I taught him to express his emotions, right? That it's important not to, be a certain way because people want you to be that way. So if you feel mad, don't scream and yell and shout at somebody.
Right.
Go beat up your bed, go beat up the pillow, but get it out. Get it out of your little body because it gets stuck.
Right.
And that's when things go wrong. Right. So I told him, like, really express it. If you feel like crying, then cry. Please don't ever hold that back because just from my experience of stuffing my emotions my whole entire life, I mean, it really caused this shadow work for me to be so freaking difficult.
Right.
And now when I get triggered and real crazy, it's like it takes so much more effort for me to come down and to stay conscious.
Right. Yeah.
So for children, it's really important, especially for boys, to really understand it's okay to have emotions.
That's
You're going to
Teach
have
them
emotions.
to communicate about their emotions.
Yes. Not overly, because it's there's a nice balance.
Right.
There's a nice balance.
Right.
But it is important for them to feel safe and express their emotions.
Right.
And know that boys cry too.
Well, yeah, what's so odd to me is that we kind of get into this whole thing with communicating to our young men that, you're supposed to be like tough and macho. You're not supposed to cry or whatever. But we come out of the womb so frail, all of us, and crying. It's the one innate thing that we all share. Like there's no differences amongst us when that happens. And then we take the boys
off.
Yeah, we take the boys and say you're not supposed to do that. But that's
a
natural body function that we just kind of make them shut off.
Society is so crazy.
Really,
we
really
literally
weird.
Incarnate here, right? We incarnate here with what? Our senses, our feelings, how we feel.
Right.
That's all we experience in this life is how we feel, right? Because we don't go anywhere. We're inside this vessel the entire time we're here.
And then we take a subset off of that of guys and just toss it.
Yeah. You're supposed to not cry. You're supposed to not show emotion. You're supposed to be hard all the time. You're supposed to be the protector all the time. And no, it's just so backwards. And it's really not fair. It's not fair.
It isn't fair. So do a better job communicating with your sons, especially about them being okay that they have these feelings, and that's normal. It's just how their body works. Everyone's body actually works that way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it will build your relationship to a way where now, your kid can come to you and feel safe about how they're feeling.
Oh yeah. I've had my kids, my oldest just basically say, well, I didn't like that you did that, so I'm not talking to you. I was like, well, damn.
Yes,
I respect it. Don't call me. And we didn't talk for quite a while, actually. It was a true story.
Yeah.
And I didn't push, I didn't press, I didn't get in her way and in her space. I had to understand where she was coming from and her perspective. Whether I agreed or disagreed, it was her own emotion. She needed the space to get through it. And I gave her that space out of respect because she's her own person.
Right.
And we're fine.
Right.
So you got to learn how to let people communicate and say whatever they need to say.
Right. And just be who they want to be without you trying to make them into somebody that you think
that they should be. Absolutely.
Let them be the individuals that they are. Yep. And a good thing that I have with my son too is we have code words, right? Or we have a code word. So if I hear that code word, I know that there's something serious going on.
Right.
And he's really feeling real stressed out, sad, or something is going on with him.
Code words are really good.
Yes. And then that will alert me.
Right.
And then now we can take some time and go talk about whatever it is.
You can create an environment for him to express and communicate whatever he has going on.
Yes.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
It's good and it's safe. It makes him feel safe. Another thing is sometimes to get the truth, right? All I ever want is really honesty, right? I want that honesty because if your child is ever in a situation where they're in danger, let's say they're drunk and they can't drive home, but they're so scared they're going to get in trouble. Yeah. It's like, would you rather that child risk their life because they're so scared about your reaction or call you and be like,
I've gotten those late night calls.
Yes.
Acid trips.
But that's
college
so important.
Days where kids can be a nightmare. But
yes.
You want that call. I'm thankful. I've had a lot of other parents like, oh my gosh, I can't believe your kid called you. I'm like, I can believe it and I'm thankful.
I would rather have that.
I would rather me being the one picking them up versus anyone else.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I have an honest conversation with my son, it's like if he tells me something that is not good, right? Because he's like, Mom, I got to tell you. I'm like, what you got to tell me? He's like, I be on my phone at night. Oh, oh, my head inside my head. Oh, you be on your phone tonight. Okay. But I'm like, oh, really? Okay.
Right.
You on your phone.
Why are you on your phone? Instead of us getting mad, now you already know, right? So he's tattled on himself. So there really is no, he's trying to learn what's happening there is he's testing to see if what we teach them is true.
Right.
I'm being honest because my mom and dad said honesty is best policy.
Right.
Well, now I'm being honest. Let me see what's going to happen. Not saying that being honest about things you do poorly is not going to come with consequences, but at the same time, he wants to see how you're going to react. Because if you create an unsafe space after he's honest, he will lie all the time.
Absolutely.
So for me, that would have been like, oh, you're on your phone. What are you looking at?
Yeah, that's what I was. I was like, oh, you're playing games tonight. Right. That's cool.
That's how I found out. It's good to be honest. That's how I found out that my youngest had a porn addiction. It was her own, her bringing it up and feeling safe enough to bring it to me.
Yes.
And that's a huge thing for any teenager, I would imagine, to come to their parent to say.
Yeah.
But because we had that safe, open space, she was looking at it on phones. So
and it's better to know, in my personal opinion. It's way better to know
than to be blindsided.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So, down the line, I started taking his phone at night because that was after. That's down the line because that's very not healthy. And I explained to him, hey, I'm only doing this not because I want to stop your fun, not because I want to take away your comfort, right? I'm doing this literally because it affects your brain in a way that's going to prevent you from being the best that you can be, right? And I try to dumb it down, like not dumb it down, but make it understandable for a 10-year-old, right?
And another good way that you can combat that, I mean, thankfully you don't have an issue, but if anyone wants to use this idea and are feeling like maybe there might be a little bit of kickback on it from their kids, you can put a bucket at the door. This is actually good for everyone. Actually, we need to kind of really let go of our devices. My device is not by my bed at night.
Oh yeah, it's not good. The Wi-Fi by your brain it fries your brain.
Right.
So
once I'm done, the phone goes downstairs. I'm in
Blue
bed
light,
away
really,
from
really
it.
horrible. Yes.
So what a good thing that you can do as a family is create, again, rules, right? At night, at this time, everyone's phone goes in the basket. Yes. Because it's almost hard for you in your instance where you're sharing about what happens to the body and the brain. And then he's looking at you guys on a night that he happens to be up late on your phones. And it's like, right. Okay, so she's telling me this, but she's not doing it right. Yeah, you got to be very careful. Right. You got to be really careful. I know. She's like, darn it. I'm going to too. Oh, man. But that's just a really good way to really cement the way that what you're telling them, that you're actually doing it too, because you care about yourself as well. Because then we look hypocritical sharing, information about X. That would be like me, I'm, dealing with my clients and setting up nutrition plans. And then, I've got my kids eating garbage food and chips and I'm eating it, too.
Right. Right.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, it's hypocritical.
Yeah.
And it's hard to follow somebody and listen to somebody and act and respect somebody when they're telling you to do one thing, but doing the opposite. Right. Yeah.
And then we say stupid stuff like, do as I say, not as I do. What does that mean? That's ridiculous.
And also kids are curious, right? Yeah. They're very curious creatures. So tell them something, but then when they ask you why, explain why. Don't be like, because I said so.
Right.
I'm guilty. I do that sometimes.
Oh.
Because I said so. Oh. Judgmental look just got me. Hold on.
We're going to work on that next session.
I felt that. She was looking at me so judgy. Oh. Thanks, Maria. Okay. Anywho.
Next session, we're going to work that out.
I need to work on that. But no, they're very curious because they're new people in this
They are.
world.
And sometimes it's aggravating because we're in our life and our day and then come with all these questions. I know. And you're like, Jesus, look, kid.
I know.
I can clearly see my mom that day in the grass looking at me like, I'm going to run over her with this lawnmower. And I felt like it was going to happen, but I keep saying, but why?
Because you're really curious.
Subconsciously, I'm like, did I want to get run over with the lawnmower?
I think you're thinking too deep into it. Woman brain stuff.
I know, right?
She really wanted to do that.
I felt it. No.
I know, maybe. Oh, man. Okay, well, speaking of rules, do you want to explain your rules?
Yes.
This is freaking good, and it can save people's
families,
life, divorces, everything. Your relationship with kids. I mean, everything.
So
this is gold.
Listen
carefully.
Like I said, we want to have this podcast and not just talk about things. We want to also have firm solutions for you guys to use. So I'm going to leave you guys with a tool that was very useful for me. And I pray that it's useful for you if you implicate it, properly at home. So simple tool, get some index cards and they're colored. You've got red, you've got yellow, you've got green. And you're going to set this up as a family unit. This is going to be about conflict resolution. So when you start this with your family. Everyone has to agree to the rules. The rules can be really what you want them to be. For me and my household, the rules were these cards are going to be emotion cards. Where when you get a card, depending on the color, you have to not talk, but just listen. You're not allowed to be rude or condescending. The person who presents you with an emotion card can't be nasty or mean either. They just, you can't be tossing the card, chopping them in the head with it. Cut their head. None of that. So how the cards work. Red is I am mad, upset, sad. It's a pure negative emotion. And that card is purely that. Yellow is, and it's I want to talk to you, but I'm not ready to talk. I'm letting you know, I'm putting you on notice that you and I have a conflict. Yellow is, okay, I'm still feeling the same way about said emotion. I think I'm ready to communicate with you, but if I get a little spicy, we need to call the session and come back to it another day. Green is I'm fully ready to go. So basically how this game would work, I've got a conflict with Liz and I say, okay, I'm going to give her a red card. The red card, typically I'd maybe write a little note on there that says I have a conflict with you, yesterday or whenever such and such happened, it made me feel X and I really would like to discuss it with you, but not right now. I hand Liz the card. Liz gets an opportunity to read it. And I say, is tomorrow a good time for you if I'm ready? And she'll say yes or no. The next day, if she said yes, I'll come to her with either a yellow or a green. This way she knows that I'm maybe ready or I'm really ready. But in that time span that's in between, when she's got the red card, that does two things for both parties in the conflict. That gives me time to really cool off from being emotional and really kind of go over my thoughts and see, again, like I said earlier, is the problem really her or is it partly me? Is it both of us? What's going on? So it gives me an opportunity to really assess what I'm really upset about and what I want to communicate when I get the opportunity to talk in a conscious way, right? Not just off the cuff. And it also gives Liz the opportunity to be emotionally prepared to hear whatever it is that I have to say negatively. So now she's not going to need to be on the defense because she knows it's already coming, right? I'm not blindsiding her with that, coming home and just starting to scream. She already knows that something now is coming. Yes. She can prepare emotionally and be mature and ready to listen.
Right.
So when you get that card the next day, I've given her a green. So that means I'm ready to talk. The conversation goes as planned and she is not allowed to respond. She is merely there to listen, 100% no talking. And I'm allowed to just get it all out, right? In a conscious, mature manner. Respectful.
Yes.
Now, what happens after that is she can come back with a card of maybe another green where she gets, 24 hours and we can talk more about it. Or if we're ready to talk on the spot, we can, but you got to present a card because that gives the person the opportunity to prepare. Or she can come back with a red. Or she can simply apologize if she chooses, but not right away. I like to give it to the next day so that really she can think about what's going on. This game was played in my house for years. To my surprise, it still continues with kids through phones. And it fostered such an amazing ability to communicate for everyone. But what I loved most was, for me, it kind of expanded beyond conflict. And then it kind of got into, sometime my youngest would come home. It was a red card. Nobody did anything to her at home. She slammed it on the table, bad day at school. So everyone knew she needed her own space to kind of just process. Yeah. Nobody's bothering her, picking how kids can be. None of that's going on in the household. That also gave me an opportunity to know that I need to put my mom hat on, create the safe space. So that when she's ready, instead of me, we usually run to their room. Oh, what's going on? Then we kind of hound them. They're crying. I don't want to talk. It's probably a boy or something, usual. But it gives me an opportunity to say, not right now.
Right.
I got to wait.
Yeah.
So I put my mom hat on and I say, okay, stay calm. You don't know what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen to whatever she has to say, take it in, and then respond maybe later.
Right.
And typically I would say, you know, after she talk, I say, okay, let me think about that for a little bit. Let me kind of digest what's going on and, you know, talk to you. I'll tell you what I think about it tomorrow.
Yes.
Phenomenal. This is a tool that I really just think that you guys, it sounds so silly and so easy, but it's huge. It's huge.
Right. So someone said in the chat, just sit and listen while being berated. No deal. So that's not what these cards are about. It's about having the space and the time, right? Taking the time.
Right.
That's what the signal is, right? You feel like popping off. You have a red card. Boom.
Right.
Put it on the table. You don't talk at that time. You'll only talk when you're ready to talk.
Right.
And during that talk, it's not about berating. It's not about being mean or disrespecting or
only the issue at hand.
Yes.
Only the issue at hand.
Yeah.
Liz, you put box color on my hair. You burnt my roots. You know, that didn't really happen.
Not good.
But, you know, I was feeling some kind of way, but no. Again, there's rules. Everyone signs. There's rules. There's no bad words, nothing condescending, just whatever the topic at hand was.
Right. Yeah. So it's respectful. You're doing this because you love and care about these people and you want to keep the communication healthy.
Right.
Healthy. This is a great way to keep healthy communication in your household.
Right.
Great way.
Yes. Right. And then you go through a lot of cards, but they're completely worth it. It's golden, and you'd be surprised looking back. We would keep the cards and kind of reread them, you know, later on, just to kind of see, you know, who was feeling what at what times. And, you know, what was cool to hear is like, oh my gosh, I was being so immature or totally grown up since then, or that was not even really an issue.
Right.
I'm not sure
It's funny. It's funny to look back.
So they get to also see how much they've changed over time. Yeah. Which is good too, because when did your parents ever really show you how you've emotionally changed? Right. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah. This gives them an opportunity to see growth in themselves. Right. You know, which is important. And how they evolve as a human being. Yeah. That's important to see. I mean, it's inspiring. It inspires you to keep doing the right thing. Right. Yes. Right. So there's a question. How does a man look at the issue at hand without trying to solve it in that moment? So that's really, really hard for a man to do. Yes. But it's about understanding, you know, you're a woman or just whoever you're even talking to, but the physiology, like we were talking about earlier in this episode, is completely different. So as a man, you want to solve that problem, and just because you care, right? But understanding that that's not how the woman will receive you. That's not how she'll receive that. Or you can just say after she's done venting, or just communicating, right? We probably shouldn't even call it venting, because it's really, you know, communicating. Yeah. Is this being upfront and saying, is this something that you'd like me to help you solve? Right. Or do you want me to just continue to listen? Yes. Because now you've created a safe space for you, brother. Yeah. Now you say, you're like, I threw it out there. Yes. She's in control of whichever way this goes. And I'm going to just do whatever she says that she needs at that moment. Yeah. You know, and opposite, you know, I think we should do it the opposite way too. So that's a great way for a male to interject and say, excuse me, one moment. I just want to ask a quick question. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to find out, is this something you want me to try to help you solve? Or do you want me to just sit here and listen? So now you can put your hat on, the appropriate hat, and do what you need to do for that situation. Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about communication, guys. Yep. All about communication. And thank you so much for the beautiful comments about my book. And I see that you bought my book, Linda. Yes. Thank you so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy. I did write it from the heart. So I really hope that it helps. And thank you for the people that said it was good. I appreciate that so much. Do you have any finishing thoughts? Finishing thoughts. Yes, I do. For me, in my opinion, the key to really effectively communicate is a couple things. First key, you need to 100% be honest, true, and knowing who you are as an individual. Yes. If you are being false and phony, and then it's not going to work, because you're going to communicate stuff that's not even really you. Right. So understanding and knowing who you are, what your true likes and dislikes are, and being okay telling people what they are. Yeah. Bottom line. Right. Second key, I think, is to respect other people's emotions. They are not wrong.
Right.
You have no jurisdiction on how someone else feels or how their body processes something that's happened to them. Right.
Yeah.
So, respect that. Always be respectful in that.
Yeah.
And, the third key I would lastly leave you with is, do your best to understand that communication is also a portion of love. Right. It's a product of love. And so a piece of the recipe to love.
Yes.
And so you won't have any loving relationships, significant other, friendships, work relationships, your children, if you don't have good communication. There'll be really no love and symbioticness in there.
Right. Yeah. No, that's super real. And what you said about knowing yourself, I think that's absolutely one of the most important things is know yourself. If you don't know you, how is anyone else supposed to know you?
Right.
Right.
That's it.
So you really have to dig in and figure out who you are, right? Why do you feel the way that you feel about certain things?
Right.
Understand that everybody has been through different things in their entire life. So what might bother you might not bother somebody else.
Right.
Or what might bother somebody else to their core might be like nothing to you. But understanding that within other people and yourself helps communication be successful.
Right.
And that's really, really all life is.
Yeah. It's really, it boils down to communication on everything. It's the one factor in life that no one can run from and that we all need to do a better job. And I think that society would function so much better if we just communicated
and knew how to do it the right way.
Right. If we knew how to do it correctly. Because right now we do communicate with just quite poorly.
It's very poorly. You see it manifesting all over the planet how poor.
Right. So create rules in your household, within your friendships, and don't be afraid to, your life has been going, you've probably already got your family set up and you're into the swing of things, but put something new in there to make your family better, right? Try it out. Break some of these curses.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's important to have people like, thank you for letting me lean on you when I have issues, right? Because it's important. Communication is everything. We are social beings. As humans, we need community. We need
that's right.
Compassion for each other. We need company. It's impossible for us to be alone. If you don't touch a baby within the first year of them being alive and they get no love they'll die.
Yeah, it's not healthy for babies.
They'll die.
There's studies on that.
Yes, because we are social beings and we need each other. So it's important to build that family out within your life, because if you don't have anywhere to release any type of issues and you internalize everything, you just will be cursed.
And I will add one thing that I've noticed in my years of just kind of peeking in and out on communication. I'm always curious as to different cultures.
Oh yeah.
And I've noticed, like, living in Europe, their family culture is so different. They communicate so effectively. But their lives are fostered to spend a lot of time together, and it creates such a beautiful home setting. And then I look at other, nationalities as well, like Mexicans and Vietnamese. I've got Mexican friends and Vietnamese friends, and they do so much as a family core all the time in order to stay like that and function like that and become successful. Think about it, as units.
Wow.
They come to other countries as units. You can only do that with good communication.
Yeah.
If you think about it. I mean, if everyone's fighting, we're so divided as Americans, but if you look at those units, they're so close knit. They probably are doing communication 10 times better.
Yeah.
Along with a side dose and some, of taboo, we don't talk at all.
Yeah.
They're doing it as a unit though.
Yeah. Right. No, I mean, even in certain cultures, that's great. You bring that up. We'll touch on that just a tad before we get out of here. It's very unhealthy in some cultures and very healthy in others.
Yeah.
So, it's understanding a person's culture as well.
Right.
Will help you to be able to communicate with that person. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if you're mixing cultures, it's two different upbringings.
Yeah,
completely.
Exactly. So understanding all cultures and even like you said, and Europeans, they their communication style is amazing.
It's amazing.
So maybe studying that and realizing, hey, well, they do this certain thing. Maybe I can try that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then not doing other things.
Yeah. That was weird, right? Won't be doing that.
That was weird.
Yeah. Glad it's working for you, but I'm gonna leave that out.
Right. Anywho, anything else?
No.
I think we did. We spat out a lot of words during this podcast.
What we wanted to spit out. Yeah, this was a lot.
Listen, sometimes I go into a thought, right? And then I think about something else, so I forget what my original. That happened tonight, by the way. I hope you guys didn't catch it because I was going somewhere, and then I completely forgot where I was going, and I went somewhere else.
Welcome to the real podcast. Man, that was a mental breakthrough.
All right, that was a new understanding. Anyways, no, seriously. So apologies if you guys got a little confused with the but we're just real.
Yeah, we're just real. This is it. We just want to be able to offer you guys some solutions and some realness without all the pretentious, Yes. You got to feel X, Y way and do X, Y thing. That's not what we're about here.
Right. Not at all. Not at all. So we'll see you guys next week. Yeah, next week, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Yes. And we will probably come up with something awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, another awesome something.
As it will always be awesome.
It's usually what happens to us throughout the week of our life. So they were like, we're talking about that.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. We don't touch on what's happening right now.
Right now. We're totally not planning.
For real.
You'll know on Sunday.
Yeah, seriously. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I see more people are reading my book. I love you guys so much. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes. My book is called The Recipe to Elevated Consciousness. It's available on Amazon or forbiddenknowledge.com. You guys can find it anywhere. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool book. It is pretty cool. Anywho, we will see you guys next week. Yep. I'm about to go smash this food. Look at the time. Yes, I know. See, isn't this crazy? Everything is divine and in line. I'm about to end this at 1:11:11. And peace out. Oh man, I had to press another button.